Your boy Matt. This is Tac0 admin for the 1st of September 2025. I've got 2 points of order which I really need to drill home and some updates. So point of order one is that we need to maintain the interaction of our leadership team. There's been point of order two is that my ability to continue interacting with participants in the Tac0 project is currently diminished because I have limited internet access and I live in a homeless shelter. So point of order one, returning to that one. The reason why we have this leadership structure isn't because to fulfill people's egos. People's positions in that hierarchy are defined based on how I can get an engine to work. The idea is that we've got these different parts and they work together. And by working together, they're able to do something that is more than just a gear or another gear. This is a concept which in consulting work we call synergy. It's a lovely corporate buzzword. The idea is that the sum of the parts is able to do something more than the parts by themselves. It's a complex machine. Everyone's got these different skill sets, and the sum of the effort of this group is to be able to promote our agenda, which is to keep democracy functioning. The reason why I say this is that there was recently an attack on our command and control structure by, I think it was the Australian Signals Directorate. Of our different intelligence agencies, that's the one which I have the least respect for. Now, what happened is that I went to Smith's Alternative the other night. I sat down, I had a beer. There was these two gentlemen who sat across from me, and they were just so... they're pretty easy to identify, and the best way that you can tell if someone's an undercover cop or in signals is that you start insulting their agency, and then after that what happens is that when they have an emotional response to it, it's like, there you go, you're offended. Now I know why you're offended, and I know that you're part of this organization. So they talked to me about behavior therapy and these things. And I am very happy to provide that information to our government agencies. I'm an Australian citizen. I am oriented towards what's good for our nation, and I'm very happy to make contributions to that through the intelligence apparatus. I do find it a bit insulting, routinely find it insulting that they don't just give me a fucking phone call, say, hey mate, we've got some questions. Or even better, hey mate, look, we understand you've got expertise in this area. Would you like to come? We'd like you to sign an NDA, and we're going to ask you some questions about this so that we can to help us understand this capability and see if it's appropriate. I basically explained to these gentlemen through an ear bashing, basically, because that's how I can get my point across, that you cannot learn positive behavior support or behavior therapy from behind a computer screen. My frustration with people from an IT background and signals in general is they're interested in things such as social engineering, yet they don't have the human skills to be able to do it. And really, they are a supplement to human intelligence. I often find the attitude of this organization quite frustrating because of that. And I really feel that the ASD, which is increasingly becoming a very important part of institution in Australia, needs to really be held as kind of a subservient agency to our versions of MI5 and MI6. I'm not an expert in intelligence work, but I've been around it enough, and I know people who do these jobs. It's Canberra, man. you can't take a shit without rolling into this stuff. I'm not going to give anyway. So the other thing is that I recently was listening to a podcast by the Australian Institute, and these gentlemen, by the sound of it, were on it. And I think that was a signalling to me that they've intentionally start taking an interest in our project, and they may be dismantling it. I need to say that the agendas of intelligence change. One day they might think one thing, the next thing they think another. It's our business what we do. We are civilians. We have the right of association. We are doing something that the authorities failed to do. We have created a political movement. It's our business. And my encouragement is for everyone to stick together, maintain the structure of our organization. It's intentionally set up the way it is because it allows this engine to run. There's going to be adjustments I make to that engine when I get a bigger, fuller view of things. I've been particularly impressed with Phil Griffiths' performance. I would encourage people to take notice of what he has to say. And I also want to make it very clear that you are more than welcome to engage in other political causes. You are more than welcome to do other projects. You are not asking people to give up their day jobs to be part of this project. What I am asking is that people stick together and not let and don't let this thing fall apart, because we've achieved some incredible things so far. We are a force of nature, and we're going to continue to be able to push this agenda forward. I personally am sufficiently famous now that I will not be able to fade into obscurity. I'm set. If I want a political career, I'm in the zeitgeist now. That's there. If I want to be rich as an influencer, I can do that. I am set. Okay? There are behaviors I could do which would maximize my benefit, which would not be if I just abandoned the project potentially. But that's not the point. I'm trying to find ways that we can win together. And if we stick together as this machine, we're going to be so much more effective at establishing a political agenda. And it's essential that we maintain and develop a bureaucracy, so that we're able to keep this project going into the future. My intention is to develop us as a non-government organization, as a separate think tank potentially, or as a separate form of institution, when we begin doing this in a more formal way. If that someone has not already done that on my behalf. Originally I asked Yari to establish the bureaucracy legally. But that's what we're aiming for. Point of order 2 is that I'm currently in a homeless shelter. I have limited access to the internet, and I'm finding it difficult to interact with participants in the project, the people who are the content creators. It is essential for us to maintain our base, and on top of that, I have personal relationships with these content creators. It's not the kind of personal relationship that I have with my mum or dad or my friends, which I know from my jiu-jitsu club or whatever. It's a relationship between us creatives, okay? I find that relationship quite valuable. I think of contributions from In Range TV and Ian McCullen to Forgotten Weapons. So they're libertarians. They've got a slightly different idea of things to me, because I personally have more of a socialist bent. But I really appreciate their content. And I look at the other contributors in the overall project, and it gets a little bit unfair when I start listing names. I wanted to give a shout out particularly to In Range TV, because he's been very active. He's got a background in cybersecurity, and he's made significant contributions. And at one point, I felt that he may have felt neglected, so I just wanted to give that shout out. Um, I have limited internet access. I don't have like so I'm not able to engage with the volume of content which I'd like to be able to operate this thing. Um, Another point which I'm going to add on to what I'm saying is that I have to read the tea leaves, if that makes sense. I have to orientate myself largely based on incomplete information. So this means that when I talk about things such as my concerns with the Australia Institute, because Greg Jericho has been a phenomenal part of our project, and I really do not want him to separate from it. He's more than welcome to reduce his involvement if he likes, but he is a voice I very much respect and I very much value in our project. Um, like when I talk about my concerns with signals and that, I'm having to make calculations based on incomplete information. Um, and that's frustrating for me, and sometimes it can be unfair to other people. Um, there are also instances such as Michael's cult where it has, it's I've been able to navigate that space very effectively. Um, and that's another thing I want to point out to tack on. Intelligence changes their minds. They are people, circumstances change, their assessments change. Even if they are trying to undermine our project today, tomorrow they might change their mind. The issue that we've had with the attacks, the cyber attacks and these things that I've experienced, that's because of a group of people who have misbehaved, who have all clumped around Michael Armstrong. Okay? So that has been a structured thing of abuse. There's been a social cause for it. It hasn't been a strategic thing from the Signals Directorate. It's been their behaviour. So that's another thing I need to tack on. And finally, you need to understand that I'm not the enemy of these people. In fact, one of the career paths I was planning on doing was potentially working for human intelligence in some regard, our versions of MI5 or MI6. Look, that's not something on the table anymore. It's not something I really want to do anymore because I've got this project which is far more effective towards the agendas, our political agendas, and our political agendas are they just swamp anything working for the government. I'd actually find working for the government quite frustrating and restraining. But I don't have a negative view of that aspect of our government. I'm not these people's enemy. We are citizens. We are free to associate, and we're free to develop our own institutions and our own political movements. That's why these institutions exist, to protect those rights. And it is our obligation and our duty to keep ourselves together in our project to both defend our own rights and push forward our political agendas. And if they do interfere, they are misbehaving, and it's not something that we should tolerate. It's actually our responsibility to keep the intelligence people accountable, not for the intelligence people to hold us accountable. We have not misbehaved. If they misbehave, we go after them, right? They should not be going after us. Anyway, that's Taco Admin for the 1st of September, coming to you at 2 a.m. in the morning Australia time, in my best attire. Have a lovely day, everyone.